What's up, everybody? Jennifer here. I hope you're doing well. And in today's video, I'm going to continue my series of reading Life is Short, Don't Wait to Dance by Valerie Condos Field. And in today's video, I'm going to read Chapter 5. Coaches who inspire break barriers. Dreams and dedication are a powerful combination. William Longgood. Up until 1986, there was only one collegiate team that had won a national championship in NCAA women's gymnastics. That was the University of Utah, led by Greg Marsden. In 1987, Georgia broke the Ute streak and won their first championship under the leadership of Suzanne Yocklin. A year later, Alabama broke into the winner's circle under head coach Sarah Patterson. For the next decade, those were the only three teams to win a team championship. In 1997, UCLA finally won our first championship. Greg, Suzanne, and Sarah are legends in our gymnastics world. Each of them is extremely unique in their coaching style, and yet each is highly successful in figuring out not only how to win, but also how to put over 10,000 fans in the stands. Up until each of them retired, their arenas were sold out for all of their home meets. Greg Marsden is the unequivocal godfather of collegiate gymnastics. In the early 1980s, when college gymnastics was just emerging as an NCAA sport, Utah's fan base was rapidly growing to ultimately sold-out crowds. I picked Greg's brain constantly about how to better market the UCLA program to build a fan base. Greg would give away 100,000 tickets per meet, hoping for a 10% return. UCLA's marketing department didn't want to give away free tickets because they didn't want to dilute our product. I remember being so frustrated that I asked our marketing director, someone I otherwise really enjoyed working with, why we weren't doing what Greg was doing, since he had been proven over and over again that it worked. We never did agree on an answer. To this day, Greg remains one of the most innovative voices in our sport. As for Suzanne Yocklin, she never hides what she thinks and makes no apologies for speaking her truth, which quite often caused a stir because she was so transparent with how she felt. The biggest thing I learned from Suzanne is that just because I'm a head coach, it doesn't mean I'm supposed to have all the answers. It does mean that if something isn't working, then it's my job to figure out how to change that. I remember the 2004 NCAA championship. We had just won our fourth title in 5 years. After Suzanne congratulated me, she said something that scared the pants off of me. Val, I am so sick and tired of losing to you. That one sentence scared me because I knew it meant she was about to do something drastically different in order for her team to start winning again. She did just that. In 2005, Suzanne moved her entire team into a house right outside the university's campus. The entire team had to live together. I remember being so excited about this at first because it seemed inevitable to me that 15 girls all living and training together was a guaranteed recipe for disaster. There was no way it would work. Nope, it worked brilliantly. It not only brought the team really close together in every way, but from what I understand, they held each other accountable for everything. Georgia went on to win the next 5 championships before we grabbed another one in 2010. However, by the spring of 2016, when we hadn't won another championship, I told our coaching staff that we needed to take a page out of Suzanne's book. If we wanted a different result, we had to do something differently. Our biggest issue was what our student athletes were doing outside of the gym that affected their performances inside the gym. Things like bad eating habits and staying up too late, etc. We needed to find a way to make them at least think twice about their choices. So for the first time in UCLA gymnastics history, I decided to room all of our freshmen together. Guess what? It worked. We didn't win the championship in 2017, but that year we didn't have the cliched freshman weight gain. I didn't hear of any partying issues, and we had far better academic reports from the girls' teachers and tutors, and it set the stage for even more improvement the next year. From Sarah Patterson, I learned how to become a massive presence in our community, cultivating sponsors, donors, and fans at the grassroots level. In 2004, she was the first collegiate athletic coach of any sport to start the Peak Meet in support of breast cancer awareness. She got the entire city of Tuscaloosa involved in that event each year. When I inquired about what she did and how she went about it, Sarah sent me an entire folder of everything she did to promote that meet and the cause. All of us who love collegiate gymnastics will be forever grateful for the trails blazed in and out of the gym by these three. I can't even begin to imagine where we would be today if Greg, Suzanne, and Sarah hadn't had the collective vision of seeing women's gymnastics as a premier collegiate sport. Today, women's gymnastics consistently has the third highest ratings on college sports TV networks, surpassed only by men's basketball and football. Not only did Greg, Suzanne, and Sarah see a future of packed arenas and sky-high TV ratings, but they had the determination to put their innovative ideas into action. They laid the foundation for the rest of us coaches to use as a blueprint for success. Through their relentless quest for more fans, higher ratings, and more championships, they challenged the rest of us to figure out how to find the same success in our own unique collegiate environments. This was the perfect example of learning from the masters, but tweaking my recipe for success at UCLA using ingredients that would resonate best in a culture like Los Angeles versus Salt Lake City, Athens, or Tuscaloosa. As I've already said, I've had no greater teacher than UCLA basketball coach John Wooden. But as strange as it may seem, in 1998, I had been at UCLA for 16 years, had been employing Coach Wooden's philosophies about coaching for roughly half that time, and yet I had never been formally introduced to him. Coach Wooden had been retired since 1975. Even so, he was still very much a presence on campus. My husband, Bobby Field, arrived at UCLA in 1978, where he coached football for us for 22 years before moving into athletic administration. On his very first day on campus, Bobby went to his locker after working out and stopped cold. The great Coach Wooden was getting stuff out of the locker right next to his. "Welcome to UCLA, Bobby." Bobby and I got married in 1998. We had been married for just a few months when I asked him to call Coach Wooden and invite him over for dinner. Yes, I could have made the call, but thought it made better if someone Coach knew called. Bobby responded, "My love, Coach Wooden is in such demand, and the last thing he needs is another obligation on his calendar. I'm really not comfortable calling and asking him to do this." I took a deep breath because my husband is the epitome of polite. But I thought, why would Coach look at this as an obligation? He can always say no. This conversation between me and my husband replayed every night for 3 weeks. I was a broken record. To every reason Bobby gave me for not calling, I countered with, he can always say no. It worked. It took a while, but it worked. To shut me up, Bobby acquiesced and dialed Coach's number. "Bobby, I don't know if you know this, but I'm married to Valerie Condos, our gymnastics coach. She really wants to meet you and was wondering if you might be up for coming over for dinner. I told her how busy your schedule is, and we totally understand if you can't make it." "Coach, Bobby, you're confusing me. Are you inviting me to come to dinner? Are you telling me why I can't come?" "Bobby, Coach, of course we want you to come to dinner, but I just wanted to let you know." "Coach, Bobby, stop right there. If you're asking me to come to dinner, the answer is yes. I would love to have dinner with you and Valerie." So Coach came over for dinner that night and many nights after. That initial dinner started a friendship between us that grew closer with each passing year until the day he died. When I think back to how our relationship materialized, it was as simple as me nagging Bobby to pick up the phone and make the ask. Dreams are a dime a dozen in life. Those rewarded are the ones who execute, even when it's as simple as picking up the phone, just as I did getting into UCLA, and now through Bobby, to launch one of the most meaningful relationships I've had in my life. The art of the ask is one of the most important skills to master in choreographing your life. The first big ask I remember was in 1976 6 when I called up Jen Stevenson of Agile Lights to see if they needed a dance coach. He didn't. Instead, he learned that I played the piano and had me to play for floor exercise routines. Even though I wasn't hired to coach dance, that single ask launched me into this brand new world of gymnastics. My next big ask came in 1982 when I called up Jerry Tomlinson, the head coach of the UCLA gymnastics team, and asked if they needed a dance coach. My entire 38-year career at UCLA all started with that ask. Had I not had the confidence to make that call, none of my UCLA experiences would have happened. Outside of coaching, I've had an illustrious side career directing and choreographing live shows at venues including Disneyland, SeaWorld, the San Diego Zoo, and the unveiling of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's statue at Staples Center. This all started in 1989 when I asked Jerry Tomlinson's wife, Donna, who was in charge of the character department at Disneyland, how I could audition to be one of their choreographers. Donna gave me a contact in the entertainment department that, within a few months, had led me to my very first choreography job outside of crafting gymnastics floor routines. Since that time, I have been choreographing and or directing the SeaWorld San Diego's human shows. One show I choreographed called Riptide won an International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Award, the highest honor for a theme park show. This all came about because I wasn't afraid to ask. What's the worst thing that could have happened to me in those circumstances? They could have said no. It's crucially important to know how to ask. Asking something of someone is in essence asking for a favor. Here are some what I consider to be essential qualities of an effective ask. Know what you're asking for before you make the call. Have your request be succinct and clear, and be gracious, humble, and appreciative without being apologetic or bullish. Once you've been given an answer, whether it's not what you were hoping to hear, be sure to keep your response short. If you've gotten a favorable response, then simply say something like, "Thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to working together." If you've gotten an unfavorable response, don't argue. The person doesn't owe you any explanation as to why they are turning down your request. Importantly, you will have another opportunity to ask again at some later date, provided you are not argumentative in response to the initial rejection. After the ask comes the nudge. Why do you need the nudge if the person said yes? Well, just because someone has agreed to do something, even if they have the best of intentions, it doesn't mean they'll remember to do it. The art of the nudge lies at the heart of tenacity. A properly timed and well-executed nudge can be quite rewarding. The nuances of the nudge are crucial to intuit and master. The best way for me to figure out how to nudge someone is to put myself in the other person's shoes and try to figure out how I would want to be nudged. It usually sounds something like, "Hello, I imagine you've been swamped. I was wondering if you've been able to give more thought to what we discussed." Remember, the person receiving the nudge usually doesn't owe you a thing. If you come off like you are entitled to having the person follow through with what they agreed to and doing that on your timeline, then you can easily send them into withdrawal mode. They could choose to say, "Sorry, I'm just not going to be able to help you out with this." They don't need to give you a single reason. You simply tick them off. Your time and their time are both important, which gets us to the drop. If you've gotten an initial no or not getting a response to your nudge, there comes a time when it's best to drop the issue for the time being. That doesn't mean you can't revisit it at a later date. It just means the timing is not good now, and more often than not, there's nothing you can do to change that. What I've also learned from being on both sides of the ask and the nudge is that if the issue is dropped for a while, then the next time it's brought up and discussed, both parties usually come to the table with a fresh perspective. Among the many things I learned from my mom, and the list is long, was another communication technique focusing on the importance of concise, firm communication, aptly called the broken record. This is something I love to share with our student athletes. It helped me understand that I have a voice, my opinions count, and I have a choice, which once I make it, should be respected. I remember being in high school when my mom was reading When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel J. Smith. One day when my friends were over, my mom said to us, "Okay, girls, I'm going to teach you the art of the broken record." What? My friends and I couldn't begin to imagine what she was talking about. She continued, "It's how to be a respectful broken record, respectful to yourself and respectful to whom you're talking." She then read out loud to us from the book. The broken record technique is a skill that by calm repetition, saying what you want over and over again, teaches persistence without you having to rehearse arguments or angry feelings beforehand in order to be up for dealing with others. The key here is to know what you want and to stick to it by communicating in a way that does not give the other person an opening to question your choices. I have employed the broken record technique many times over the years when I don't feel like I need to explain my choice. I come up with a short, standard line and repeat it over and over until the person stops bugging me. I don't engage in any argument they want to have, don't veer off the choice I have made into any side discussion, and simply stick to and repeat my response. The result is that the other person has no option but to eventually concede and move on. I use the following broken record example with our athletes because I know what I'm describing is probably relevant and therefore helpful to a lot of them. When I was in my early 20s, I was on a date with a guy who had asked me out to dinner. I had met him at the Chart House in Malibu. We had a lovely time. After dinner, I said, "Thank you, I had a great time." I then proceeded to approach my car to go home. He stopped me before I could get into my car and said, "Wait, my apartment is not far. Why don't you come over for a drink?" Instantly, I knew I was going to need to use my broken record skills. Me, "Thank you for dinner, I had a great time. I'm going to go home now." Him, "Why don't you come over for one drink?" Me, thinking while smiling, "You asked me to dinner, and I agreed. You didn't ask me, nor did I ever agree to go to your apartment for a drink." Me, smiling, "Thank you for dinner. I had a great time. I'm going to go home now." What? Him, "What? Do you have to get up early? It's not even 10 o'clock. Me, thinking and still smiling, "It's none of your business whether I have to get up early or not." Me, "Thank you for dinner. I had a great time. I'm going to go home now." Him, now annoyed, "Just give me one good reason why you can't come over for a half an hour. Do you have to get up early?" Me, thinking, seriously, I owe him an explanation? Me, trying to keep us smiling, but now I think it's more of a smirk, and I'm okay with that. "Thank you for dinner. I had a great time. I'm going to go home now." Him, pissed off, "I don't get it. It's just half an hour." Me, forget the smile and the smirk, returning the pissed off tone. "Thank you for dinner. I had a great time. I'm going to go now." Him, jackass, "Yeah, I heard you the previous 20 times you said that. I can't believe I bought you dinner, and this is all I get." Me, to myself, not really surprised. What? The truth comes out. Stay calm, breathe, choose your next move carefully. Me, calmly and speaking a tad more slowly. "Thank you for dinner. I had a great time. I'm going to go home now." When I share this story with the girls, the first reaction is that they can't believe I actually did that. But when I get to the part where they hear the truth about what he was really thinking, they see the beauty of the broken record. Had I given in and said, "Okay, I'll come over for half an hour for one drink," or had I felt the need to give him an excuse as to why I couldn't come over, would have set up a further high-stakes chess match of wills. I knew my checkmate move, and I chose to take it right from the start. The point is, you don't owe anyone more of an explanation for why you do or don't want to do something other than, "I just don't want to." There is no reason to feel compelled to give a fuller or better excuse. The honest and therefore more respectful excuse is usually, "Thank you for the invite, but I don't want to." Unfortunately, being that blunt is tough for a lot of people to accept, even when you are being respectfully blunt. I don't know why that should be the case. Wouldn't you want someone to be honest rather than tell you something that you strongly suspect, or worse, just know is made up? The broken record is so effective because you are listening to someone's request and replying sincerely, respectfully, and honestly. Replying. When I use this technique, most people will simply move on, or at worst be a bit confused and ask a follow-up question. Rarely, at least in my experience, do they get pissed off like that long ago date. And if they do, I quickly realize they're coming from their perspective, which happens to be different than mine. No need for either of us to prove the other wrong. It's just time to respectfully move on. And that was chapter 5. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you see, please thumbs up the video, comment below, hit the subscribe button, and click the bell to receive all of my notifications. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!